In this video, we're going to go over mirroring UVs. So I'm going to use this guy as an example, and when he comes in, his chest is actually flipped. So if I click on this polygon on the right, it's going to select this polygon on the left, this being his chest. So I'm just going to flip this back. So again, flip on the U, and that kind of flips him left and right. So now this unwrap is good. So realistically, if this guy was the exact same on the left as he was on the right, I technically don't need to have a left leg unwrapped and a right leg unwrapped when I could stack those two on top of each other. But normal stacking methods don't really work. What we would have to do would be to actually flip this on the U and then move this over here and then stack it in some capacity. But instead of doing that, what we're going to do is just go to the top view, grab exactly 1/2 of him. So I'm going to stay really close to the center line, middle mouse button select, and then inspect areas where he has smaller polygons. And I'm just going to delete these. And again, this would be before I would go about texturing this character. So from here, I have all the halves of him. So now if I use the mirror tool, so again, I just use the hotkey for it, which is Shift V. But if you hate hotkeys, I could go to duplicate, mirror, and then left click on it. So settings here, leave these all to default. Again, we see a lot of zeros here. Hit apply. And this just mirrored him over from the left side to the right side. Now that I'm happy with this, I'm going to hit escape or spacebar to drop that mirror tool. Just jump back to our UV tools. So now what we have is this scenario where the left side of his face is stacked on the right side of his face, and just kind of some color things so you can kind of see what's going on here. If I have a normal set of UVs, and again, this is with fill polygons turned on and show overlap turned on, what's going to happen is just a white filled polygon is going to be a normal unwrap. A yellow filled polygon means that it's flipped. So again, remember our chest was flipped. That's, we could tell because it was yellow. So if I wanted to get this back again, I could do flip on the U and it comes back. But we actually want it stacked. But when an object is stacked, what's going to happen is the color is going to be red. If it's flipped and stacked or mirrored, it's going to be this orange color. So let's hit undo a handful of times to get this back to where everything is orange. There we go. So now all of our pieces are orange, which means all of them are stacked. So if I painted anything on the left side of this character, it would jump over to the right side. I can't really separate those two when these are stacked on top of each other. So from here, what I would need to do is I wouldn't want to leave all this space empty. I'd want to repack this. So I could manually do that and grab these, move them, scale them, rotate them until this place is filled. But what I actually want to do is start off by utilizing our pack tool. So again, he's right here. If I left click pack, again, these are all default settings. Let's just see what happens. Hit OK. Oh, weird things happened. So we know that a clear UV island is normal. Yellow is flipped. So again, his legs were stacked on top of each other and they're not stacked anymore. His chest and his face is still stacked though. It's a little weird, but let's look at this further. So his chest and his face are stacked. And it appears, yep, so over here, his face, they have this symmetry line that kind of links them together. And this symmetry line. So these are UV islands that are touching each other and stacked. Whereas his hands, these are just effectively in 3D space. They're not touching. Same thing with his arms. Same thing with his legs. They're actually not sharing a polygon down in this crotch area because, again, this little string of polygons here. So let's undo that and let's get back to where we had stacked UVs. Oh, eventually. A lot of undos here. There we go. It took a while. So what we're going to do is we're going to hit this pack tool. Let's look at these settings real quick. So pack, that just means move things around. Stretch, that means grow or shrink things. We want that. Orient means it's going to rotate things, but let's kind of keep going. So base, but oh, here we go, lock stacked. Let's click on that, hit OK, and we have our desired result. So in this scenario, what we're going to want to do is make sure that lock stacked is on, because again, this guy and this guy, they're mirrored, but they're technically, again, they're not sharing an edge, so it won't know to keep those together. So again, Pack Tools, lock stacked, you'll want to keep that on if in this case. But let's show a quick example where we want to turn that off. Chances are you're not going to want to have it always on. It can occasionally cause a handful of problems. So going back to our normal unwrap that it kind of came with, I'm going to actually have a few UVs stacked on top of each other. Let's actually just do these. So these three are stacked on top of each other and these ones. So pack UVs, lock stacked, hit OK. It's actually locking these ones together and these ones because they were stacked on top of each other. So sometimes you don't necessarily want lock stacked turned on. Whenever there's this red overlap, it's going to see that as a stacked UV and it's going to keep those together. So sometimes you want that lock stack turned on, sometimes you don't. But again, mirroring UVs, really powerful, really useful, usually really easy.